So you've got all of your tubes made, okay? Again, you want to leave them thicker than you think, okay? About the thickness of your finger, your index finger here, pointer finger, whatever you want to call it. The thicker, the better, because it's going to give you a lot more space in order to stretch this out once we get it made. So I'm going to go ahead and start with whichever color, doesn't really matter. And what we're going to do is we're going to flatten out one end of our first tube, all right? And then we're going to slowly start folding this over and over so we can start rolling it in a nice tight circle, okay? And the first little one, it's a little bit difficult to get started, but not that big a deal, okay? And then there we go. All right, so I can flatten that out a little bit. And now I'm going to start rolling this. Now you want to keep this as tight as possible, all right? So roll this really, really firmly and keeping the end of this kind of pulled tight as you do it. Now, once you get to about 3-4 inches from the end, okay, we're gonna go ahead and add our next tube. And I'm kind of using the colors of what I can see here on the tubes because that's the color that my bowl is gonna become. And so I'm gonna choose something in the middle that's gonna be kind of in the whites. And it looks like I've got a little bit of brown in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and, yeah, that one looks good. Now you can either slide this inside the tube here, so I'm putting it actually inside my tube just so that it makes an extension, and then I'm going to kind of flatten it out. That will help hold it in place, all right? And then I'm going to, again, continue folding these over as best I can to keep it as tight as I can, all right? And by adding that to the inside of that, it should just continue on and add the next layer. All right, and we're going to continue doing that for all 40. Yes, 40 this time. The first time I did it with 30, it didn't quite come up big enough or as big as I was hoping, so I added some. One thing to keep in mind is as you do this, they may be a little bit wider. Try to get the two ends to be about the same size that you connect here. If I put the little thin one in here, it kind of moves around a little bit too much. So I'm going to use the thick end so that fits nice and snug, and that'll hold those two pieces together a little bit better. All right, so I'm going to continue. Again, we want to keep this as tight as possible. All right, should be about 1 inch wide. All right, once we flatten these things out, and it might get a little bit thinner, it might get a little bit smaller here and there, just because like this one, the end of it got a little bit thinner, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Just the next one, as we attach it, I'll go with this one, okay? If it doesn't fit inside, you can actually put this one on the outside of it so that it does fit, all right? And we're just gonna continue to tightly wrap this. I cannot stress that enough. Make sure that it is very, very tight when you are attaching each piece. And these will go a little bit quicker as we go. As each one gets attached, it's not gonna take much more than a few turns here and there, okay, to get it to go on to the next one. Oops. Now we'll go with the smaller one there. There we go. All right. It doesn't have to fit perfectly, but it should go in about 1 inch to 1.5 inches at minimum, maybe about 2 inches. And again, nice and tight until we get down to there. And we're just going to continue this until we get to the end of all of these. And this is going to be fairly large. That way we can make an actual bowl out of these. All right. And the more pieces that you add, the bigger your bowl is going to be. So that's kind of up to you. However big of a bowl you want to make will be determined by how many pieces that you put on there. Okay. Go this way, I think. Yeah, that looks better. All right. So I'm going to continue doing this. We'll do a little time lapse in the next video, and you can see how that goes.